Well, it's February 24th today, and we're right in the middle of Leviticus here. And I know that it can be difficult to read through Leviticus. There's certainly a temptation to skip over all of these regulations, partly because we don't know how they apply to us today, and partly because it seems like there's just so much detail and seems so impractical for our lives today. I would make one comment on that at least here, and that is that I think it's actually a gracious thing of God that He gives so much instruction on what to do here. Think about if He just gave a shorter version of this, maybe to the priests, the Levites, and He said, if there's somebody with a sore, you need to deal with it. And that was all that it said. And I think that would be really hard to know what God would expect in that situation. So I think the amount of detail that it goes here to inform the priests on what they're supposed to do in these situations really is a big help to them in those situations. It shows that God cares about every aspect of life and that He makes provision for those things that are difficult to understand. You might look at it like now we have a different medical situation, right? A lot of scientific learning on medicine, and it wasn't really the priest's job to go to all of that medical study in order to do what they were called by the Lord to do. So it's good that God gives them some specific instructions on what they're supposed to do. But on the other hand, we also get the teaching in Mark here when Jesus is talking about what it is that defiles a person. And I think this is also very helpful for us in understanding the law. At the end of our passage for today in Mark 7, it says this. He went on, what comes out of a person is what defiles them, for it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All these evils come from inside and defile a person. And so obviously what he's talking about here is that sin begins in the heart, and it's those things that are that you fill up through your heart and that then pour out of your heart that are the things that make you unclean to the world around you. Those are the things that emanate in sin from you. And so if you do all those external things without a proper heart, you're missing God's requirement. But also, if you don't take care of your heart, and then what spills out of it are all of these terrible things, these defiling things, then the problem is obvious. It's a need for a heart change. It's a need to be transformed from the inside out. You make that inside of the vessel clean, fill it up with good things, and then what comes out of it are clean, good things. But if you cultivate and feed those things that are evil and wrong, those are the things that tend to come out of the heart, and that's the real issue that Jesus is talking about here. So we need to cultivate a heart that is pleasing to God. And I think even without resenting some of those other things that He's given to us as guidelines and instructions, they might seem like they're endless, they might seem like they're unnecessarily detailed, but really they're God's grace to us to help us to deal with our hearts and the things that we put into them and the things that we then have come out of them. So, just a few thoughts from today on Leviticus and on Mark. All right, see you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, that was February 24th. Not sure if I mentioned that. All right.